Hello everybody and welcome to this video. So in this one I'm going to explain why I feel like Roomwidener and Panbox together are really kind of the key to get a natural stereo field for your orchestral recordings. And before we even start this video, just to quickly put it out there is the Black Friday sales. So for both these plugins, you can actually get them 50% off, right? So if you like what you hear, just consider that. Alright, so let's get started. So why are these plugins so powerful, especially for orchestral or acoustic recordings of instruments in a room? Now, they both kind of solve a similar issue, but in a different way. So the issue that Panbox solves is the issue that repanning a stereo recording is fake. Because when you use panning, you either kind of adjust the level of the left and the right channel independently, and that's what balance does. Or if you use a stereo panner, you just inject some of the right channel into the left as you pan. And that's technically not really realistic, because what happens in a room when an instrument gets panned, when a player moves in a room, let's say, what happens is that the high frequencies actually get panned more than the low frequencies. So I don't know if you heard about, subwoofers being omnidirectional, like sub-bass doesn't really have a direction. And that's true. Like the way that low frequencies diffuse in a room, they diffuse omnidirectionally. So if you want to actually make it feel like the player is moving in your room, in your recording, you should pan the highs before the lows. And that's what Smart Pan does, and Tonal Pan as well. But Smart Pan also has a bit of a better algorithm, I would say. I mean, not better, because it depends. Sometimes this is better, but it feels a bit more natural on most sources, because it uses mid-side and other stuff as well. Now, this is already more realistic. So if we just compare, of course, there is reverb afterwards, but let's just do like that. Right, it kind of gets narrow. It gets very narrow and you lose the width and the stereo field compared to Smart Pan. A lot more natural. Same for Tonal Pan. Of course, too much panning is too much panning, right? But at least the fact that it's panning the highs before the mids and the lows in like a gradual way makes it feel way more natural, and you keep lots of the width. So now what's the point of Roomwidener? You might have done your panning correctly, right? And you will preserve a bit more width with Panbox, it's very useful. But what if you use two different libraries? Or what if you want to pan a little bit more, but then you also pan the reverb with the sound because it's a very naturally wet library, and you end up panning some of the room, so now the tail feels like it's panned, and it doesn't feel quite as natural. Well, Roomwidener is sort of a way to put everything back into a space. Now you have to use it subtly, otherwise it feels weird, but it has this power, and it's very simple. Basically, say you have your listening position here, your violin 1 here, and you want to pan the violin 1 more around here, a bit harder. What's going to happen is that you will pan all the room with it, and the natural ambience of the samples, and it's going to feel a bit different. With Roomwidener, we're trying to sort of recreate what happens in a live recording. Because in a live recording, you have maybe a surround mic here, a surround mic here, a cello mic here. And all of these mics will contain some of the violin 1 because, they're active. And they will contain the violin 1, but in a more kind of muffled way because they're more far away, right? This right surround mic is more far away compared to the surround mic on the left to the violin 1. And Roomwidener is basically adding this sort of dampened reflection, literally mirrored to the source. So the harder panned the source is, the harder panned the reflection will be on the opposite side. So if I just show you, if I kind of hard pan this, doesn't sound good obviously, but right, it's like you add back this ambience by having this dampened reflection on the opposite side. So the combination of both these tools will really create a natural stereo field without phase issues, without having to artificially widen with these basic wideners. And it will create a more realistic sound stage. And what you're going to be able to do is kind of get more unity with Roomwidener. You could put a bunch of different libraries into one bus, and it's going to feel more like the same room because you're going to have these same delays, these same kind of early reflections to all these libraries, right? And then in front of that, so on the individual tracks in front of Roomwidener, you want to put Panbox because it will have a more realistic panning that will preserve the sub more omnidirectional in the center and not really force the panning of every frequency. And that's really the point of both of these plugins. So I hope it was interesting, guys. Let me just show you quickly a little bit of a before and after. Just cello and violins. That's with panning. So without panning, of course, less separation. So natural panning with Panbox. And then Roomwidener to add this extra layer. Of course, don't do too much of it. It even sounds like a bit of a bigger room, so it's a great trick to fatten libraries like CSS. For something like this, I would just use a subliminal amount. So now you have a panned instrument that feels very natural. And then, of course, your reverb send. Again, nothing on it. So guys, I hope you found this interesting, and I will see you next time, I guess. Alright, bye bye.